India talked about strategic autonomy, how it had all the rights to look for its energy security and not need anybody's permission and did not need to side with anybody. But all of a sudden it seems like that yes, we needed a permission slip, and that permission slip is going to be signed by the very particular nation which imposed the sanctions. Yes, I am talking about US. US has finally given us sanction waiver to buy Russian oil. I am talking about that very Russian oil for which India was exposed to Western sanctions. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about that how come US has again changed its tune about Russian oil. Why it has given the sanction waiver to India, what was the need and what are the global dimensions around it, and especially for India that we need to know about. Starting with understanding why exactly US has done this. So when we are talking about US giving this particular sanction waiver to buy Russian oil for next 30 days to India, the reason is right in front of us. That reason is nothing but Strait of Hormuz and the conflict that is going in and around it. Iran already causing destruction around the neighborhood area, where India can clearly see that our extended neighborhood is in middle of a war, and Strait of Hormuz, which has always been the main tool which Iran uses to threaten the globe, has again been used. Any ships passing through it, any tankers passing through it are under the threat of being targeted, and that is why we see closure of Strait of Hormuz. When we talk about this closure, you just don't have to understand this as a water passage, you have to look at it as a 20% of global oil being stopped, 33% of LNG, LPG supply being stopped right from here. Now, if that happens, that means there will be crude oil shortage, the prices will rise and global oil spike will be seen. US does not want that they should be targeted for the war they have started, and the implications and the impacts will be borne by everybody. The brunt, the burn will be borne by everybody. So what did US decide? US decided, okay, if supply from here is a problem, it is not working out, we will open the taps that we had screwed up tight, that is for Russian oil. US said you do not buy Russian oil because it is a war economy, and if you are buying from Russia, you are facilitating that war economy. And now US says, please buy Russian oil because if the supply shortage is from here, we want supply at least from somewhere. Now this is why India has got this sanction waiver from US. Now what exactly is this sanction waiver and what exactly is being included in that? So in this sanction waiver, Indian refiners, they have been allowed that they can import Russian crude oil, but this has been given for a fixed timeline, that is of 30 days. Now it applies mainly to the cargoes which are already loaded or they are stranded and present in sea, and it will be applicable only up until next month till 30 days. Now the whole idea, as I said, US wants to ensure that there is a continuous supply so that the refinery operations continue and there is no fuel supply shortage. Because when we talk about India, we know that we are import dependent for 80% of our crude oil needs, and amidst this, the places from where we imported this oil are concentrated in the region which is going through the chaos. If you want to understand more about the oil crisis, I have already covered in a video, you can go and watch that how Strait of Hormuz can easily, and its closure can easily unfold a huge oil crisis in India. Now, this is a relief that India has got. Now, when we are talking about this particular waiver, we also have to immediately look into the fact that why are we so much dependent on Middle East, and why Middle East being war laden causes a oil crisis immediately, why it affects oil markets directly. So, first of all, I started with a geographical point, that was Strait of Hormuz. But at the very same time, you have to understand that when we are referring to Middle East, we are talking about countries such as Saudi Arabia, we are talking about Iraq, we are talking about Iran, we are talking about Qatar, Oman, and these are one of the major oil economies of the world. And Strait of Hormuz is the critical oil shipping routes of all the Middle East major oil economies. This and Red Sea route. When we are talking about closure of this particular route, it is going to affect nearly 20 million barrels per day. That means this much supply is going to be stopped. And the connection which is present for Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, Iran, that will also be gone. So as a result, what we will see, the current crisis that we are already. The current problem is not just about the attacks which are happening. It is also about the shipping cost which is increasing, shipping premium which is increasing, tanker insurance premium which is increasing, and also how some shipping companies have to use diverted routes. And that is why this Middle East crisis is directly affecting oil market, because the global energy markets are facing a supply shock. They are facing an uncertainty, and they don't know when this is going to be over. And that is why US has decided, you are facing uncertainty, okay, we'll solve problem. But the problem here is why US gets to decide. Why did US start this war when this was a possibility, when the Middle East countries were lobbying for US to not attack Iran because something like this was expected to happen? And why does US get to sign the permission slip for India? Why are we so bound to them? Can you tell me in the comment section that what are your thoughts around it? Now moving to the next dimension right around here is the fact that why India is so dependent on Russian oil. I have already highlighted more than 85% of crude oil needs are imported. We are world's third largest oil consumer. And when you look at recent years, our biggest importer was Russia. Even though because of Western sanctions and also punitive tariffs, we had decided to dial this down, but we have to remember after Russia invaded Ukraine, Russia was giving discounted oil and India was using as an advantage to ensure its energy security, to fuel the economy, and that is why India was one of the top oil receivers from Russia. Now, when we had to dial it down, definitely it would have had microecon. It would definitely had effect on the economy at the macro level and at the micro level as well. But once we have got this sanction, we get to maintain that. So Russian oil was not important just in terms of discount, but the amount of volume that we were importing was so huge that to change it and look for other resources was difficult. The amount of energy security that we had built on it was very difficult to divert and again make sure that it is ensured from other places. And in this very context, another thing that adds to it, that it was lower import cost, yes, but at the same time the inflationary pressure was reduced and also the refinery margins that they were increasing. So economically a lot of benefit we saw, and also definitely the diplomatic relations with Russia is not something new. We have been partners for a very, very long time. Now, because of this very sanction waiver, there will be not just impact for India, but geopolitical implications that will be seen, because we have understood that energy security over sanctions is more important. If we would have completely removed Russian oil, then it could destabilize global market. We are glad that we didn't. Furthermore, if we talk about India, then when the sanction waiver has been given to India, this shows that India is a buyer, but a stabilizing buyer in global oil trade. This also shows that there is real politics which is present in energy sector as well. Because if oil flow is not maintained, if US hampers that, then US will also be targeted. Because for every country, the economic stability is important. And if the economic stability goes the other way, then US would also see the other end. So oil flow is very important for national and global economic stability. And we definitely have to also consider that this is a huge, huge relief and a added advantage to India's energy security. We have, as of now, we are sitting on 100 million barrels as of now, but if this would not have been given, there would have been reductions, because our strategic petroleum reserves are only limited to 53 million barrels. Other than that, we had commercial storage, we had present in refineries or the tankers which were already en route. But in this situation, this is a huge relief for India, because it will prevent fuel supply disruption, it will supply the domestic fuel and control its prices, and in the long term, there will be direct facilitation to our strategic petroleum reserves. We will get time to diversify our import sources. We can look into the domestic sources, explore, exploit them, and it will also give us time for renewable energy expansion. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. And one food for thought, when we are saying that energy security is directly linked to geopolitical stability, critically analyze the statement and let me know the pointers in the comment section. That was all. Thank you.